Good morning. Great. I hope you've discussed how long, how many miles. I don't know. I was thinking maybe 250 miles would be my estimate of wrapping paper. But anyway, my name's Tim, one of the pastors here, and it's a privilege to be here. What fun we've had this morning already. It's great. The band did brilliant. I'm just going to talk for a few minutes to you this morning. Out of all the inventions there's ever been, I think the invention of the light bulb is right up there as one of the greatest inventions. You know, the hunger and desire for people to illuminate their surroundings have been part of human history, I guess, since forever. You know, from fire to the invention of the oil lamps, then a little bit later on in history, the invention of candles, and then the gas lamp came, and then to the light bulb, and now to this, the LED light bulb. Can you imagine how different the world would be without the humble light bulb? It's hard to imagine, isn't it? Our daily routines, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go back to sleep at the end of the evening, are entwined with this simple yet revolutionary invention. The light bulb has brightened up our homes, extended our hours of productivity, and given us something called the nightlife. You know, the light bulb has been transformed into all sorts of different things these days. I think one of the most useful aspects, of the mobile phone is not actually the ability to phone people, because who does that? Who uses a phone to do that these days? So I think one of the greatest elements of a mobile phone is this. It's the torch. Yeah, you can get your torches out if you want to. I wonder if Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, ever imagined there would be a day like today when 70% of the world's population, some 7.4 billion people, carried around in their pockets, their own personal light. I've found this small invention incredibly handy in life. Just in the last couple of weeks, I've used this torch to kind of walk to the shed at the end of the garden. I've used it to search in the back of a cupboard for something that I can't quite find. I used it a week or so ago to rewire a light switch, which was like really fiddly. When I say I rewired it, what I mean is I held the torch while my dad rewired the light switch. That's actually what happened. Confession time. I've reached that kind of certain age now where I need to get up in the night for the toilet. And too much information, you may be thinking, but I found when I do that I use the mobile torch. You know, I find it's discreet. It doesn't wake up my wife next to me. Jim is nodding, going, yeah, I'll do as well. I often use it to come downstairs in the morning rather than put on the main lights. It might be small, but I found it to be incredibly useful. You know, it's such a useful tool on an individual level, but, you know, it doesn't work in all situations. Sometimes you just need a light that's a little bit bigger. I don't make all my family sit around the home with just their lights of their mobile phones on. We have ceiling lights and we have lamps as well. Can I just have a straw poll, okay? Who here prefers like sitting in a lounge with the brightness of a ceiling light, and who prefers like turning on lots of different lamps around the houses? Yeah, put your hand up if you prefer ceiling lights. A little wave. There's a few. Put your hand up if you prefer like the mix of different lamps. The vast majority. I thought it would be that way. I thought it would be that late. Lamps are probably the most popular. They are the most popular. But the only problem I have with lamps is I can't read books in low-level lighting anymore. And so often I am now found recently in our lounge with little lamps around and the family around of me just sitting on a chair with my own personal light trying to read a book. We often want different kinds of lights for different types of situations. Mood lighting has become a phrase that we're familiar with. We don't just want to produce light. We want to control it, make it fit with the atmosphere that we're hoping to create. Warm, dim lighting for those kind of cozy, intimate feels. More kind of colorful lights for more energetic, lively vibes. You and I might play around with lights in our homes, in our living rooms, on the outside of our lights at Christmas time. But in the theater or music festivals, you're going to need something even bigger. Lighting technicians take the use of light to a whole nother level, Often bring an explosion of color and dramatic flashes that add to the excitement. It's like an assault on the senses. Thanks, guys. They use light to kind of add to the experience. And just when you think you've seen it all, that they couldn't do any more, the experts take to the skies, creating new displays out of lighting drones, leaving you looking up as animals move across the sky or birds or all in light, leaving you just wondering, how on earth do they do that? I don't know. Humankind's ingenuity and passion for light, it would appear, knows no bounds. But our best efforts at producing light pales into insignificance in the face of this, the sun. The size of the sun is beyond human comprehension in many ways. 1.3 million Earths would fit in the sun. The surface of the sun is 5,500 degrees centigrade. But at the middle of the sun, it burns at 15.6 million degrees. It's 91 million miles away. It would take the average aeroplane 19 years to fly to it. And yet the power of its light reaches Earth in just over 8 minutes. LED light bulbs are a little bit better than conventional ones, lasting a little bit longer. But the sun is estimated to be able to shine every minute of every day somewhere in the world for at least the next 4 billion years. And because we've kind of obsessed with light, in 2018, NASA launched a spacecraft called the Solar Probe. I don't know if you've seen this. At a cost of just over £1 billion, its mission was to discover more about this light and the star that our planet is so dependent on. And so far, it's made 20 orbits of the sun, each time just getting closer and closer and closer. Until on Christmas Eve, in just a few days' time, it hopes to break all records by getting within 3.8 million miles of the sun. To me, that still sounds like quite a long way away. But one of the scientists working on the project described what will happen on Christmas Eve this year in this way. He said, "We are basically almost landing on a star." I mean, you get a sense of just how powerful the light of the sun is when you hear that getting within 3.8 million miles of its source is seen as some kind of remarkable achievement. The difference between the sun and, all these other kind of man-made types of artificial light is not just its size and power, but it's actually what it does. It gives and sustains life. I could tell you about how, these plants take sunlight and use it to convert water and carbon dioxide into carbohydrates, the food that it needs to grow. But my guess is you're not listening to me right now, because all you're thinking is, wow, isn't that stunning? The sun is remarkable, but what is capturing your gaze right now is not the sun, but what it actually does. It gives life. And not only does it give life, but it also sustains it. If you never see or have a mobile phone light or a ceiling light in your life again, it will not affect you. But a lack of sunlight in your life will seriously impact your physical and mental health. Every morning, we get a reminder of just how powerful and beautiful and life-transforming the sun is as it rises in the skies, turning darkness into light. In the reading we heard from the Bible that Grace spoke, the prophet Isaiah says this: "The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned." You know, what strikes me is the imagery that Isaiah uses. He says, a light has dawned. It's a great light. Not a man-made invention like an oil lamp or a torch, but something as impacting as the sun. There's a sense that Isaiah is stating that, try as we might, the answer to the darkness in this world can't and won't be found given a bit of human ingenuity. We're going to need something bigger from outside the world to transform the darkness, Isaiah says. And he says this: to us a child is born. To us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he'll be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He's talking about the birth of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. He's comparing the magnitude and the effect of him being born into this world to the power and life-giving wonder of a sun rising and flooding the world with light. On those living in a land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given. You know, the one that humanity had no ability to get close to was coming close to us. The light that was dawning was the light of his presence with us. I don't think it's a coincidence that the first people who heard about the light coming were a bunch of shepherds in the dead of night. They were at the bottom of the social pecking order. They weren't just in physical darkness when the angels appeared to them, they were also in social and economic darkness. And we're told that the glory of the Lord shone around. It's almost like the first announcement of the coming of God and the purpose of his light. It's like the first announcement God wanted people to know. That this light that was dawning was so powerful that it would transform the darkest of nights. It would bring light to people living in the most desperate of situations. And when the light has dawned and the darkness kind of disappears, you can see clearly. Not just up close, but you, on a good day when the light has dawned, you can see way, way into the distance, all the way to the horizon. You know, I love going up onto the downs, and particularly in autumn, and I love being able to look out. If you look to the north, you can see just like a patchwork of different fields. If you look around, you'll be able to see trees as their leaves change color from greens to oranges to yellows. If you look south, you'll be able to see the glistening of the sea in the distance. Look up, and on a good day, you might have the privilege of just seeing a bird of prey. Look down, and you'll see cattle grazing in fields around the place. C.S. Lewis once wrote this. He said, "I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen. Not only do I see it, but by it, I see everything else." It's the dawning light of Jesus' presence with us that helps us see everything else. Helps us to see meaning and purpose in life. Helps us to see the answers to our biggest questions. Helps us to see a way forward in the darkness. Helps us to see the value of people around us. Helps us to see the value of ourselves. It's the dawning light of God that helps us to see how much we are loved by him. And it's when our eyes are open and we can see clearly that we begin to experience what the light of his presence ultimately came to do. Isaiah says, in him was life. Jesus himself put it this way. He said, I have come so that you may have life and have it in all its fullness. That fullness of life is possible to experience because, like the sun, the light of his presence is reliable. It's never going to fade. Isaiah says, the greatness of his government and peace, there will be no end. In other words, if you know Jesus' presence with you, you're never going to need another light. You're never going to need a backup because his light comes with a lifetime guarantee. You know, the desire for people to illuminate their surroundings have been part of human history like forever. We try all sorts of different artificial lights to brighten up our lives, to try and keep the darkness at bay. Book a holiday, invest in a hobby, go on a shopping spree, surround ourselves with friends, meals out, nights out, watch the telly, the light of the telly. All of them have their merits, but compared to knowing the light of Jesus, the light that he brings into our life, they all pale into insignificance. It's like comparing the light of a torch to the light of a sun. The band are going to sing in a moment, but let me just ask you this. How are you hoping to experience light in your life? And is the light big enough? By which I mean, does it give you temporary pleasure or everlasting joy? Does it help shed light on a few situations, or does it help you see clearly in everything? Is living under it purely functional, or is it life-giving? There is a light that has dawned, a true light that gives light to everything and everyone. His name is Jesus, God's Son.